Well, what a race that was. Mercedes 1-2. They are back. Well, of course, I have won a few races beforehand, but they are truly and properly back after a terrible Friday, getting nowhere near the front, making some changes with the car. They've come back and won the race convincingly. And this is a good reputation boost for Russell, as it was not gifted to him. It didn't fall in his lap. He decided to make that strategy call to the team, saying, I can take these hards to the end. Let's try the one stop. Let's give it a go. We're going to drop down to 5th or 6th anyway behind Verstappen. So let's just sod it. Let's go for it. And of course, he won. But it was very close, of course. Hamilton and Piastri within 2 seconds, all within each other. Very tight finish in the end. Don't get me wrong, very, very exciting. Personally, I prefer Lewis Hamilton to Russell, so I am a bit annoyed about this, as I believe Hamilton was clearly the quickest driver out of the 2 Mercedes this weekend, and throughout the race, well, no one said dominant, but he was clear quickest. He made the jump on Perez at the start and passed Leclerc with no problems at all, with just a few laps in, and from there controlled the race completely. No one bothered him, no one gave him any trouble, no one could really threaten him. He was just that little bit better than everyone else today. For the guy who was quicker today, Hamilton for sure beats his teammate, and he was probably the fastest guy out on that track today. But hey, it's a Mercedes 1-2, the first one in a year and a half since Brazil 2022. Again, same order, Russell wins, Hamilton second. Piastri, though, just came alive on them hard tyres. It was at the meetings at the start, it was a bit, he wasn't exactly challenging for even a podium at that point. But second, the McLaren had got them hards on, it just started flying, just going, like that last stint, soon as it got past Leclerc, became a rocket ship, that car. Gained Mercedes so quickly, and of course was within 5 tenths of Hamilton at the finish line. Now, I'm genuinely very surprised, as I thought Leclerc would actually keep it up. His pace was looking pretty good. I'm thinking, Russell would pit, Hamilton's going to win this, and it's going to be Piastri and Leclerc on a podium. But obviously, no one expected Russell to make his masterstroke off a chess move. Like, that is checkmate, basically. Another battle that was going on a little bit further down the field, Verstappen and Norris. Those two were very close all race, to be fair. Like, it was Verstappen and Norris at the start. No, sorry, opposite round. Norris had a Verstappen and then switch around the pit stops. And of course, but Norris just couldn't get past. It was like Hamilton was saying in the cool down room that you could catch up, but you just couldn't pass. And I believe it's something to do with the low downforce, as obviously many cars run low wings to get the maximum out of the straight line speed. And when there's less aero in a car in front, breaking a hole in front of you, and when you have less aero as well, drag effect, or the slipstream effect, is less effective, which is why they just couldn't pass. And I say in Sky commentary that it was something to do with DRS on the Camel Straight being a little bit shorter by 75 meters, but I don't think that has anything to do with it personally. I think it's just like cars being very low winged. As the Red Bulls were running higher wings, you could tell from qualifying they were dominant. Verstappen 6 tenths ahead for P1, Perez P3. Of course, in the rain, you want more downforce, which is why Red Bull was so quick in qualifying. Of course, in the race, sure, they had good tyre preservation, but that didn't really matter today. It was about having a straight line speed today. That's what really counted the most, and they had too much downforce for it. They just couldn't pass, and they got past fairly easily, to be fair. Russell breezed past Perez when he eventually got him. But it doesn't really explain how Norris couldn't pass Verstappen, as if a McLaren is low drag and then the Red Bull is relatively higher drag, then it should have been relatively easy for Norris to pass him. But no, it just turns out that didn't happen. Norris just did not have the straight line speed to get past Verstappen. And for me, I think this is somewhat expected drive for Verstappen. I predicted him to finish 4th in the end, just off the podium. And yeah, that's about right. My expectations were correct, Max. And Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez were just sort of the tail end of the front runners, where they just were there. They were involved at times, but they just didn't quite have the pace as the others. But hats off to Leclerc, though. He did very, very well in that Ferrari to maintain 4th. Of course, he nearly got that podium, and if Russell pitted, he would have got that podium as well. So I think Leclerc is one of the best drivers out there today. A rather unrecognised performance. Only retirement was Zhou Guanyu, who of course early on in the race whose car just stopped working completely. He was limping around, got it going again, but then they're saying there's some sort of hydraulics problem, so then he dropped out of the race. He was the only retirement, and overall it was a pretty clean race from everyone. There was no incidents, no barging, nothing. As far as I know, there's nothing like that. So a very clean race for every single driver on the grid. But of course, into the summer break now, we have 10 races to go. Hamilton in the interview said he won't fight for the championship, when Steiner, who was doing the interviews as well, I was like, oh, nah, no way. This isn't real. This isn't happening. Gunther Steiner doing the post-race interviews, and of course he asked Lewis, can you challenge for the championship? He straight up said no. Which, when you realistically look at it, there's about 100 or so point gap to Hamilton to Verstappen. Obviously, Verstappen leading, Hamilton 6th, 430 points to be fair, and to break that many points down across in races is just too much for one car to do, especially when it's so close between the top 4. And it does look like Ferrari have prepared themselves back into this group as well. They look sort of like stragglers, maybe picking off the odd, like, decent top 5, but no, they're actually in there thanks to Leclerc's fantastic ball lap. It's going to be interesting to see where we go in the last 10 races of this year. Will Red Bull win again? They probably will. We'll probably see Verstappen maybe win again in Netherlands. It is his home Grand Prix, so he'll be coming back wanting to win. Now, my hot take for this race is that Norris isn't that good. No, today he was clearly outperformed by Piastri. Sure, there's one-off races and whatnot. At the start, it was a bit sloppy. He dipped his wheel into the gravel at the first corner on the exit and just couldn't get past Verstappen. I didn't hear him a lot on radio either, like communicating. Sure, there was communication, but it just didn't seem like Norris was his best self today. Piastri just straight up outperformed Norris today. Like, it's rather surprised when Norris is meant to be the #1 driver, but I think Piastri, I've said before, my most underrated drivers video, he is the most underrated driver on the grid and should get more recognition. Of course, with his win, with his recent performances, I think he will get that recognition now. So who knows, could Piastri be the way forward with McLaren? He's complete opposite to Norris, I'd say. He's completely calm, does not backchat to say a 7-time world champion. I like to describe him as stoic, like a Roman stoic who just doesn't get emotional about anything, which is a characteristic which I very much like and makes him stand out to me. Now, I might have to buy one of those McLaren hats when Lewis retires. But that's all we got to say, man. Let me know what you think of this Belgian Grand Prix. Drop a comment, subscribe as well if you enjoy this, and turn the bell on to see when I upload. That's all I got to say, bro. Take care. Have a good day.